Everything Legit, the Nimi Mehta podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Everything Legit. I, of course, am Nimi Mehta, and I thank you once again for joining me. I hope you really enjoyed the first episode of season 3. When I listened back to it, and I know I hate actually hearing my voice, but I realised it wasn't very long, and I wanted to make the episodes this season a bit longer. So I'm going to take my time. I feel like I was a bit nervous, I'll be honest, on episode 1. I don't know why, but I really hope that you gained a lot from it. I can tell from your DMs and the messages that I got after the episode was released how much you relate to it and how much it may have helped you, the step-to-step guide on how to end a cycle with something or someone. If you haven't heard it, do go check it out and come back to this episode. It's absolutely in no chronological order, so it's just timeless content and topics that we love to talk about here on Everything Legit. I also want to say thank you once again to my location sponsors, Foundry, for rocking with me this season. It's going to be so much fun. You can tell from the title of this episode that I've done some deep digging, and the question is, why don't I have any memories? This is something that has been a joke in my family for years, and I'll tell you why. Because everyone knows Nimi has the worst memory ever, and I genuinely thought it's just because it's just me and it's just, oh, I'm just a bit ditzy, but it's not. Because I recognised in therapy over the last year or two that I have something called dissociation. Now, it's a big word and there's so many layers to it, but I want to go through it with you. I'm going to put context around it a bit. So I look back to my childhood and I look back to my teenage years and I don't remember much. I really don't remember. When I say much, I don't remember details. I don't remember going places. My mum still says to me, and we joke about this, she says, don't bother telling Nimi anything because she's not going to remember anything. She thinks she's wasted so much money on me and taking me on holidays and stuff, which I don't even remember we went to. For example, she said, when we went to Mexico, and I was like, I've never been to Mexico. She said, I took you on a 2-week holiday to Mexico. I can't remember it for the life of me. I can't remember being there. Can't remember hotels, the flights, any excursions we may have done. I don't remember memories, like little moments with my family, with my sister, with my mum or dad that I would have had. I can't remember it. I can't remember the feel of being there and the feel of being present. This, I realise, isn't just something that I can shrug off. This is genuinely and legitimately something a lot deeper, and that's okay, but I'm glad that I came across it for the last couple of years, because I sat down with my therapist and when she asked me, so tell me about your childhood, I was like to her, I don't know what to tell you. I can't remember. That, my friends, is dissociation. And I have the actual definition here to give you a better idea. Dissociation is a mental process of disconnecting from one's thoughts, feelings, memories, or sense of identity. Now, I know that sounds quite alarming, and some of you may be sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I have dissociation. Well, it's actually quite common. They actually say a recent psychological study found that 80 to 90% of individuals report dissociative symptoms at least one point in their life. It's actually a very common thing. Nearly everyone has had it, whether they are aware of it or not. Everyone's experience is different. I want to make that very clear. My experience may not have been the same as yours, but to give you an idea of what dissociation looks like, it's kind of spacing out, zoning out, eyes glazed over. You know when people say, oh, I zoned out, I can't even remember. It is a form of dissociation. It might be on the mild end of the spectrum, but it is relevant and it's there. Suddenly switching between emotions or reactions to an event, such as appearing frightened and timid, then becoming bombastic and like over the top, that is dissociation because you can't relate to that memory or that moment. Zoning out is considered a form of dissociation, but typically it is very mild. I have friends all the time who zone out, and that's okay, but that's very much on the mild end of the spectrum. So what brings someone to dissociate? And I want to kind of get to this because it's the most important part. Why does it happen? Now, this is the tough part, because I still haven't got to why this happened to me. And when I sat down with my therapist, she said to me, was there anything traumatic that happened? Did anything extreme happen to you in your childhood that you can remember? And the truth is, there isn't. There wasn't this one event that happened and changed my life. Dissociation, you can usually see it in movies. It happens when someone's had maybe like a car accident, been in a natural disaster, gone through something incredibly traumatic, lost someone. They don't tend to remember the feelings, the emotions, the events that took place around that big event. They just kind of go blank. And what that is scientifically your brain going into a defense mechanism, right? Our brains go into this mode. When something traumatic is happening right in front of us, we go into survival mode. And that is not stored in our long-term memory. And that's just based on science, right? But I'm talking about defense mechanisms, which has been quite a recurring theme actually in Everything Legit. A traumatic event can lead to dissociation. The hours following the event, the weeks, the months, in my case, years, but I just don't know what's happened. I just find this whole thing fascinating. A Japanese writer and novelist called Haruki Murakami quoted this. He said, "Memories warm you up from the inside, but they also tear you apart." And I thought that was so poignant, because I sit here wanting to remember everything and so sad that I don't. Yet sometimes the memories may not be all that you hoped and dreamed they would be. So it's dangerous digging into the memories that you've forgotten, but I think also very important to understand who you are today. This dissociation thing, I don't call it dissociation. I still just say I have really bad memory. So when my therapist sat down with me and said, why do you think this is? I think back to anything emotionally strong that I went through as a kid, and I had a really good childhood. I had loving parents, I had a great sibling, I was comfortable, we never went through anything traumatic like my parents did, i.e. having to become immigrants and move from one country to another because they got chucked out of the country that they lived in. I didn't have to go anything traumatic like that. I had a very simple childhood. I went through school just like a normal kid went through school. I was privileged. I experienced the luxuries in life. I got holidays with my family every single year. And I sit there and I say to myself, Nimi, then what was the problem? Why do you have dissociation? I still can't figure it out. But I dig deeper and I found out that it's not necessarily just one traumatic event. It is several that could be repeated over and over again through time, whether it's an emotional distress, a physical distress. And I've spoken about this in previous seasons. I can only relate to previous teachers that I've had at schools or in my private sessions. When I went through my tennis years, when I was representing Great Britain, traveling the world, playing tournaments and winning cash, it feels like another lifetime. But I had a coach then who was verbally abusive, mentally abusive. And I think back to that. And I don't have many memories of my tennis years. I ask my dad all the time, can we get video footage? Do we have any photos of me playing? And he's like, weirdly, we don't have that much. And I can't remember anything. I remember little flashbacks of training and the faces of the people, but I wasn't present in that moment because I was traumatized by whatever was going on. This guy was horrible. Think of Satan and then think of even worse. That was this guy. The things he would say to us, scream at us, shout at us, you're fat, you're this. And I was chubby, I was on the bigger side, but I didn't need to hear that as a teenager. He would give me extra weights and humiliate me in front of everyone else he thought would motivate me more, to make me driven more to perform. If anything, it put me more into my shell. And this is crazy to me because I think back to, wow, I was a teenager traveling the world, playing sports. That's the dream for most. But I can't remember any of it, which is really, really sad. The parts of the brain that are responsible for our higher thoughts, and this is again getting a bit scientifical, our higher thought processes, retrieving memories, that can get damaged through over and over again emotional trauma, or over and over again mental trauma, physical trauma, sexual trauma, whatever it may be, that part gets damaged. So it gets used to not actually remembering much at all. And that's exactly where I'm at right now. I try to sit with myself during meditation, during journaling, to try to dig deep and remember. But what my therapist said is that something is blocking it, and something is telling me that I shouldn't, I don't want to. And I wonder actually what's happened to me that's led you to be like this. But it goes back to that Haruki quote that maybe those memories are best left in the past. However, I also understand that some people are still suffering in their present. I have grown a lot in the last couple of years, so I don't feel like I am suffering in the present because of my past. If you do feel like you are suffering in the present because of a past that you potentially can't remember, and that your mind, body, and soul has blocked out, then that is definitely something you need to dig deeper into. And that is something that you need professional help with, and that a therapist or psychologist can help you through. So I really, really stress on you seeing someone and talking to someone about it. Because I've heard stories and I've researched dissociation. People have done hypnotism and tried so many different forms to try to remember the things that have happened to them. And it's so interesting about survival mode, isn't it? That naturally, without us even asking, our brain goes into it just to protect us from whatever may lie ahead. But now, once you're out of the darkness, you want to remember what's happened. And I do. I'm at that place where I feel like I can handle it. I clearly just need to dig deeper. One thing my therapist did say is that you may never remember what happened, and you need to be okay with that. I'm okay with it either way because I'm not in control of it. Whatever it will be, and the effect that it has on me is how it's meant to be. So I'm okay with that. But the defense mechanisms are so real. And I spoke about this in our last episode about how we react to losing something. We all kind of react differently, you know. Like I said, some of us react with comedy, some of us like to socialize more, some of us indulge in drink or drugs or whatever it may be to try to handle whatever it is. But I just feel like either way, it is always gonna catch up with you. If you don't handle it now, you're gonna have to handle it one day along the line. And I would rather handle it now whilst I'm a 30-something woman than have to deal with it when I'm 50, 60 having a midlife crisis. So, dissociation, what did that mean? What did that mean for me as an individual? And you know, I'm here on Everything Legit to share with you my personal experiences because it might help you in any way. I recognized I wasn't present. I wasn't there. I wasn't, able to be in that moment and experience everything that I wanted to experience. And I look back and I regret it, and I'm actually so sad for myself because when I am round the family table and when there's 20, 30 of us in the room talking about, oh, remember that time when this happened and that happened and this happened, you always catch me looking at my sister to be like, what are they talking about? Because I cannot remember for the life of me. Now, photos, video clips trigger the memory, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. For example, when I get asked, what is your first ever memory as a child? I always say, oh, it's, on one of my birthdays, I got this bear cake. And I always know that I only say that memory because I remember seeing a photo of it. But I don't actually remember my first ever memory. I don't remember any of my birthdays. I had a massive do for my 18th birthday. 18, right? I'm a technically developed adult by then. My mum put on this amazing party for all of us. Family and friends were invited. We were in London. She got a DJ. She got a nice venue. I don't remember any of it. I don't remember what I wore. I don't remember what anyone said at my 18th birthday. I can't remember who was invited. I can't remember what friends were there. I can't remember the feelings I was feeling when I was there. And that is really, really sad to me. Because if anything, I feel bad that, my mum, my dad put so much effort into helping their children create memories. And I'm here talking about how I have none. And that's pretty scary to me. I can't remember going through school, certain things. Can't remember the names of the people I was friends with. Can't remember faces. It's dangerous because if I ever was to bump into people, I cannot even tell you how I know you or what happened or what I experienced with you. And this is why I really, really want to make people more aware of dissociation, because we throw it off as if it was not a big deal, as if it's, oh, I have a really bad memory, which is basically what I've done for the last 30 years. But that's just not the case. There's a deeper psychological meaning behind it. Now, me becoming aware that I have dissociation, what has it done? It's made me want to be more present moving forward. Now, the work that I've done on myself the last couple of years, I can happily and proudly say I don't think I have dissociation anymore, because wherever I am, I try to be present in the moment. So for example, if I'm driving along, I don't put music on because I feel like that music takes me somewhere else. That music makes me think about something or someone, and it takes me away from my present moment. What people tend to do, by the way, this is an actual technique that my therapist actually suggested. I didn't like it, but they put like a rubber band round their wrist, or just like a hair tie, ladies, if you're listening. And if you feel like you're sitting at dinner with your friend, if you feel like you are watching TV, you're watching Netflix, and you feel yourself floating away and dissociating with the present moment, and you're zoning out, you just ping that rubber band or you ping that hair tie, and it will like obviously smack onto your wrist, and it should physically snap you back into your present. That's a technique that a lot of people use. I don't mind it. I think that some people need a physical reaction in order to bring them back to their place. I need to break my mental cycle. So I will drift off and start thinking about something else. I have a voice in my head that's like, Nimmy, no. Nimmy, no. It just brings me back to my present moment where I am. And so I've noticed that I've started to have memories. It's amazing. I mean, I would say my most earliest memory, as it stands right now, I would probably say to 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I remember the pandemic starting. I remember everything, the notions, the fear, the uncertainty. I remember all of it. I remember lockdown. I remember the people I was with. That's when I feel like I've started forming memories from. Can you believe that? I'm a 31-year-old woman, and my earliest memory is from the age of 28, 29. It's really, really sad, which is why I think it's really important, and which I'm mad at my parents for not having more videos and photos of me from when I was younger. But it is so important to be present. This may come along in your life at the age of 30, the age of 50, the age of 60, realizing that you haven't been present in your moments, and that's okay as long as you realize it. Obviously, mine is, I think, quite an extreme situation. You may have just blanked out 6 months of your life, a year of your life, because of something traumatic that happened. But I think it's really important to create mechanisms to bring us back to our present. Making a conscious effort to be where I am, so I remember it, so I can have memories to talk about when I'm older, so I can sit there and tell my kids that, oh yeah, remember when I was this, I did this, and when I was this, I did this. Because right now, as it stands, I have nothing to share with them. I'm not doing it for the future and for my kids that I may have one day, but I'm doing it for myself because, weirdly enough, and I'm going to use this analogy throughout all these episodes, I've created a notion and I would say a method for me to recognize how important it is to be present in this moment. And that is visualizing myself when I'm 90 years old, and when I close my eyes, I can see her. She still looks great, by the way, but she is 90 years old, and that is me, and I'm sitting on a porch and I'm looking out to the sunset. I'm in this beautiful home. I don't know who's in that home. All I know is that I'm on this chair, and it's a rocking chair. And I'm just sitting on that rocking chair, moving back and forth. And whenever it comes to me being present in the now, I think, is she going to remember this? Is she going to want to remember this? Whether I'm making a decision of my life, whether it's the tiniest thing, which is, what shall I call this podcast episode? To the biggest thing, which is Is it time for me to have a kid? Whatever it may be, that decision, I actually think about 90-year-old me. And will this be important to her? Will it be relevant? How important and life-changing will these moments be for that 90-year-old woman? Because when it comes down to it, at 90, I'm not going to be sitting down thinking about the podcast episode title. Well, as much as I love you guys, it's not what I'm going to be thinking about. But I'm going to be sitting there thinking about, did I live my life? Did I create memories? Did I do it with the ones I love? Did I, be the best that I could be? And that's what's really going to ring into my brain. So this memory notion that I haven't had in the last 30 years, that's okay. I can't do anything about it. I can't change it. Yes, I can dig deep. Yes, I can probably get hypnotism. Yes, I can keep digging with my therapist. But I just don't think that there was one major event that changed me. I think it was several things accumulated when my brain just went into absolute defense and tried to just, okay, well, you know what, Nimmy, best you don't remember this. Let's move on. And that's how I genuinely imagine it. Now, I would love for you to try this just in any situation in your life. And this also works with ending cycles. Whether it's a job that you're unhappy in, whether it's a relationship that you're unhappy in, a friendship, whatever it may be, imagine your 90-year-old self. Just imagine her or him sitting on a porch, or doesn't have to be my scene. It could be anywhere that makes you happy, right? Where you imagine the last years of your life to be. It sounds really morbid. I don't mean it to be. It's supposed to be beautiful. But imagine yourself there, right? And will they care? Will they matter? Will they want what you want right now? How important will it be when you're you sitting on that porch? And that's something I think about every single day. It actually helps me not stress so much about decisions because she won't care. 90-year-old me will not care about this. If 90-year-old me will care, then it's a whole other situation. I like to think about it deeply and, worry about it and stuff like that. But do try this technique and let me know if it works. So if you are listening and you think that dissociation is something that you completely relate to, or maybe you know someone that talks about their memories and can't remember absolutely anything, then I think that this is something for them to explore. Some may not want to tap into old memories, some may. But I'll give you an example. I know someone, he's around 60 years old, and he's a family friend, and we had a recent conversation. He doesn't necessarily have a form of dissociation, but only after he ticked over 60 did he start remembering things from his childhood. And he's had an epiphany. He has started living life so differently. Now, when he first remembered these memories, which were quite traumatic for him, it took him into a very deep, dark place. It took professionals, family and friends to get him out of it. But he now is thriving. He is living life like I've never seen him live life. And that is the beauty of tapping into your inner and deep self. Yes, it can be dangerous. Yes, it could be painful. But in the long run, it is going to be absolutely the best thing for you. So I hope you have enjoyed this podcast episode. Like I said, if this is something that you can relate to, I would suggest you get professional help and really try to navigate your way through this. Some people do go through meditation and get through to the source of the pain or the source of the trauma through that. But I would suggest going to a therapist because that has helped me incredibly. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I hope that the analogies, the mechanisms that I've used and I use on myself have helped you in the tiniest way. I thank you for listening to this episode. Please do remember to share it with family and friends, anyone that you think can relate and would love to listen to future episodes. Remember, none of my episodes are time sensitive. It's all topics that I feel like everyone can relate to. Please do subscribe to my podcast, leave a rating on how you think it goes. I mean, obviously a 5-star would be amazing. Thanks so much. And do check out my YouTube channel. If you're just listening right now, you can watch me in the studio. It's a pretty beautiful one. It's all pink and red and stuff. So I think you'll love it. And yeah, until the next episode, I would also like to add that I want to start a new feature called Dear Nimmy. This is a part of Everything Legit, which is brand new. It's kind of like an agony aunt kind of thing. I don't want to call myself an agony aunt, but I just want to talk to you. If there's anything going on in your life that you feel like is a topic that I could personally talk about or give my opinion on, I will definitely do that. Just DM me at the Nimmy Meta on Instagram. Give me a follow as well, it won't hurt. And let me know what's going on in your life. You can be completely anonymous to it, and I will be talking about the topic and talking about the subject, and I hope that you gain something from it. Other than that, I just like to receive your DMs anyway. Let me know your thoughts, any other topics you'd like me to talk about. I'd really, really appreciate it. Lots of love, and until the next episode, I'll see you then.